So let us start with the definition of a project. According to the Project Management Institute, which is the PMI, they are one of the most, according to many prestigious organization bodies in project management, they define the project as a temporary endeavor that has a specific start and end, of course, that is established in order to develop a unique product. So there are different elements as part of this definition. So if I want to break this definition into, words, we're talking about temporary aspect. We're talking about uniqueness of the project. We're also talking about a product. Essentially, we are initiating a project because we need to end up with a certain product. Complex, and it has some activities. So if I want to ask you about the temporary aspect of a project, what do we mean by temporary endeavor in a project? Any thoughts? Okay. Temporary endeavor means that any project that we have or we initiate has to have a specific start and a specific end. For example, if we are constructing a bridge and we used a specific scheduling tool, let's say Primavera P6, we defined our activities, we defined our durations, we know the relationships between the activities, we simulated all these activities using a scheduling tool, Microsoft Project or P6. I will understand the start and finish, the start date and finish date of that project. All projects are temporary in nature. You won't find a project that has an indefinite lifetime. Each project will have a specific start and a specific end. Why they have a specific start and a specific end? Simply because we're talking about constrained resources. We are talking about defined durations of activities. That's why we have temporary projects. So essentially all projects are temporary in nature. Unique. Each project that we are constructing or producing, especially in IT, is unique in nature. What we mean by uniqueness in a project? Uniqueness comes from the location aspect. Each project is constructed in different locations. Some of them are constructed in St. Louis. Even in St. Louis, some of them are constructed in this area, others are constructed in that area. So location is one of the things. Another unique aspect of a project, not all the resources working on the project are going to be the same from one project or another, although they might look the same in terms of architect, but the resources that we're using in terms of contractors, subcontractors, technology vendors, design firms, these could vary from one project to another. Another aspect that could also impact the uniqueness or be involved in the uniqueness definition is the design aspect of the projects in terms of architectural means, structural means. Soil conditions may differ from one site to another. So the whole structural system is going to change. So we're talking about unique projects and unique products. Now, the products in a construction or in a project management perspective does not really narrowed down to a construction aspect. It can be related to manufacturing, it can be related to IT, and it can be related, of course, to construction. Now here, if I am focusing on the construction, there are different sectors within that product. So we can produce or basically build different products in order to form a specific facility. So if I ask you a question, and we already broke the ice, I'm not here to evaluate you or so, but just a matter of hearing your thoughts loudly. What kind of construction classifications we have? Any thoughts or sectors? No one wants to participate?
Like industrial?
No, yeah, perfect. Yes. Any others?
You have vertical construction versus horizontal.
Nice. Can you further explain that? Because this involves a lot of things.
Yeah, so you got like a building sector, you got, maybe particularly warehouses, roads, transportation type projects.
Excellent. So that's a great actually answer, but it involves, it is actually an umbrella. When we talk about vertical infrastructure, the buildings alone, for example, could be the residential buildings, could be high-rise building. So these are considered separate sectors according to a specific classification. Even the linear assets or the linear construction, when you talk about, the water pipelines, sewer pipelines, being trunk sewers, which are the bigger pipelines, or distributions or collection system, the smaller pipelines. Here we're talking about the heavy civil construction, which is a major component of the construction. So thank you for this input, and also for the previous input that I got from one of the students. Any other thoughts other than the heavy civil construction, high rise, residential, and industrial? Any other thoughts? We have the educational sector, which can be in the form of libraries, universities, colleges, schools. So these are some of the sectors that are relevant or can be under the construction products, if you want to call it this way. And of course, when we talk about the construction industry, it's not as the information technology industry or even the manufacturing industry. We are talking about a really complex activity from actually the programming, from the feasibility studies up to the disposal of the asset or the disposal of the facilities. During the construction or during any construction project, we are talking about finding, a design firm, qualifying those design firms who are going to be working on a specific project for us, defining those specific activities, and also trying to assign the work for those activities, which is going to be in an uncontrolled environment. And what I mean by an uncontrolled environment is basically going to the site, working outdoor, where you don't have any control over the climate, where probably you might, to a certain extent, have control on safety aspects, but safety is another issue that could cause a lot of troubles, a lot of injuries, and sometimes fatalities if the safety consideration is not taken into consideration. And the complexity comes from when we are using, heavy machinery, such as, cranes, excavators, especially when it comes to mobile cranes, 500-ton mobile cranes or so, or even the machineries that are used for excavations or compactions and many other related materials. So we're talking about complex activities, which stems from the resources that we're using in terms of manpower. Sometimes we might be having, sometimes we might be having some injuries because of minimal education from some of the subcontractors. We might have complexity when we have when we have a site that is really congested, and the logistics of the construction might, decrease because we do not have enough room. So all of these are related to the complexity of the construction project, which is really dissimilar from when we talk about information technology. I'm not downgrading the information technology because they have other complex related aspects when it comes to programming and algorithms being used. But I mean, the construction is actually happening, most of it right now, in an outdoor manner when compared to offsite, while the offsite construction is right now being part of the game. Celia, thank you for your input regarding the healthcare, solar, and water. These are actually good examples as well. And activities, of course, any item that has to be assembled should have specific activities. And if we know the WBS, which is the work breakdown structure, which I guess you studied in one of the courses or the prerequisites, which decompose the projects into different hierarchies, starting from one level, moving to the other level, and next and next. And the final level or the last level, usually the sixth or the fifth level, is the work package, right? Which is the least defined element within the WBS. Now, in order to complete that work package, such as, constructing a footing, there will be certain activities that has to be involved in order to complete that work package. So in order to complete that work package, we need to define those activities. We need to confirm their sequence. We need to define their relationships and, their durations in order to complete that item or complete that work package. If I amalgamate all these work packages, then I will be able to complete that project. So the definition of the construction project or the definition of the project in a construction industry is not very far from how we define it in other industries, but there are complexities associated that comes from the construction methods and means that we're using, the resources that we are using, and some of it is being right now tackled as part of the digital transformation. We're trying to make things happening in an efficient way in order to reach to a productivity level that I wouldn't say matches the manufacturing industry, because I think this is really far from the reality, but at least increase our productivity and increase our efficiencies in producing the construction